What's up everyone, this is DR with the WoW Breakdown 101, and today we're going to take a quick look at the Dual Wield Frost Deathknight in 6.0.2 PTR. I have footage from the normal / flex Siege of Orgrimmar in PTR, and my gear has been scaled down to item level 528 for testing purposes. Now the 528 item level is a Frost Deathknight. Your two-handed spec will pull slightly ahead of your Dual Wield in live, and more so in 6.0.2. I have not yet got to test out two-handed Frost Deathknight in the PTR, but will be doing so as soon as I can. Now, back to the subject at hand. Now, you're going to notice that I have no add-ons at the moment, and this is PTR testing. I have disabled the battle text as always to ensure that my UI is not cluttered with information that I do not need. Right now, Blizzard is still in the process of balancing all the numbers and the stats squish, so I'm not concerned with how hard skills are hitting at the moment. Okay, so now, let's say you go over to 6.0.2 tomorrow. What are the differences you're going to notice on your Dual Wield Frost Deathknight? There are three main differences that you're going to notice. The first is that you no longer have Raise Dead Ally cooldown, effectively taking you down to just 2 DPS cooldowns, Army of the Dead and Pillar of Frost. The second big thing that you're going to notice is that your Horn of Winter is no longer generating runic power and is just a 1 hour buff with no cooldown, effectively taking it out of your rotation. Now, you did not use Horn of Winter often, but it was there when you had absolutely nothing else to do and filled that small gap and generated 10 runic power. Now, the one concern that I did have when I heard this news is how they were going to balance the loss of runic power throughout a raid encounter. Well, they went a different way than what I was hoping. To top it off, you're no longer having that runic power regeneration from your Horn of Winter. The number 3 big change you're going to notice is that they have increased Frost Strikes to 25 runic power, up from 20 runic power. This would have been fine had they increased the runic power generation from the rune abilities. However, they are the same as they are in live. To combat this increase in runic power, to further define Dual Wield from the two-handed Frost DK, they have increased the damage that Frost Strike does with single-handed weapons and the damage that Obliterate does with two-handed weapons. So, what does this mean for your Dual Wield Frost Deathknight now? The rotation and playstyle will be similar to live, with one big difference that will separate your DPS from those that are just playing the spec like it is now. During this testing, you will notice that I played the spec much like it is in live, and I lost a lot of damage in doing so. Okay, so how am I losing a lot of damage, and why am I losing a lot of damage, and how does it feel similar? What is that extra little bit that you can do to get the most out of your Dual Wield Frost Deathknight? Now that your Frost Strikes hit harder, and I do mean a lot harder, and cost more runic power, you will cast Frost Strike on Killing Machine proc like now, or when you're going to cap. The main difference is, if you do not have a Killing Machine proc, and you are above 25 runic power, but below 50 runic power, with nothing to do, you're just going to have to sit on that Frost Strike until you get a Killing Machine proc, or you're above 50 runic power. The reason you will do so is due to the amount of damage that your Frost Strike does, and the cost of your Frost Strike. You will always want a Frost Strike ready to go the second you have a Killing Machine proc. This means that there's going to be a little bit more thought into your Dual Wield Frost Deathknight when you're playing it, and you'll have to sit on Frost Strikes, which means that you'll slow down your play style and your spamming just a little bit, which with the encounters, maybe the amount that's going on in the encounters in 6.0 will make it not so boring. We'll just have to see when it gets to live, because a lot of things can still change between now and when 6.0 goes live. However, Blizzard did say how the classes are playing right now in Warlords of Draenor Beta is how they're going to play when it goes live, and they're just doing the balancing numbers right now. Now, like I said, I've not yet got to play the two-handed in the PTR, but from the footage that I've seen in the Warlords of Draenor Beta, and from the way two-handed plays along with the increased damage that Obliterate does for your two-handed weapons, losing a Killing Machine proc to Frost Strike, as in Killing Machine Munchin, will hurt much more now in 6.0.2 than it will in live. Okay, I'm going out on a limb here, guys, and I know there's going to be a lot of Deathknights that's going to curse at me, they're going to spit at me, they're going to want to kick me in the teeth for saying this, but why does Frost Deathknights need to have two separate playstyle? Unholy already is the two-handed spec for Frost Deathknights, and Dual Wield should be the only suitable go-to for the Frost DK spec. The reason I say this is it'll be a lot easier for Blizzard to balance 2 DK specs instead of having to balance 3 specs that is actually only 2 specs. Okay guys and gals, before you line up the firing squad or get the noose ready, listen to me. take a step back and ask yourself and really think about it. When you hear Frost Deathknight, do you think of a spec that deals a lot of frost damage? Or do you think of a spec that deals huge amounts of physical damage? Let's be honest, when you think of a hard-hitting melee physical damage, what spec and class comes to mind, guys and gals? Come on now. Be honest with me. That's right, the warrior. Why do we need a two-handed undead warrior that does some frost damage and some diseases? Okay, guys and gals, here's my suggestion. Let's just scrap the physical damage Frost Deathknight idea altogether. We can keep two-handed, we can keep dual wield, but let's just make both specs play exactly the same, balance them out exactly the same to use the same type of rotation. The only difference is what weapon you choose to have on. Use the ability prune to get rid of Obliterate. Sorry to say it, but they've already taken the depth out of Obliterate now, with the removal of it doing more damage per diseases the target has. I do love two-handed Frost DKs, Deathknights rather yet, don't get me wrong, but when I honestly sit back and think about it, do we need it to be a viable spec with Obliterate? Why do we need physical damage attack? Why do we need Obliterate? Let's just get rid of it. Let's go true Frost Deathknight. Let's do a frost damage abilities. Okay guys, before I dig myself any deeper, I'm just going to end it there. That's my first look on the Frost Deathknight in 6.0.2 PTR. I'm sure that some of you may agree, and hopefully you do. Some of you are probably going to disagree, and I'm sure you will. Just leave your thoughts and comments in the section below. And as always, have fun and see you again next time.